Joe Mason, a disabled Vietnam veteran, lost an arm and a leg, saving another soldier's life. He carries that sacrifice into every waking hour and into his sleep, where the war finds him again in the dark. Kathy Mason, his devoted wife, pulls him out of the nightmare with her arms around him. The fear in his face is not something she can hold back for long, because the world waiting for him in the morning has already decided he is not worth the trouble. He stands at the bathroom mirror before the rest of the house is awake, spitting blood into his hand. His toothache is so deep and persistent that it has become a constant reminder of how little the system that sent him to war now intends to give back. At the Veterans Administration office, Joe sits across from a clerk surrounded by paperwork and explains that he needs dental care he cannot afford. He makes clear, with the patience of a man who has done this 4 times already, that coming down here costs him time away from the job he depends on. The clerk reads the board's finding aloud that Joe is not entitled to dental care in this instance. When Joe asks how that can possibly be, the answer he receives is that his tooth problem is not directly connected to his time in service. Joe states the plain fact: he lost a damn arm and a leg. The clerk's only answer is that he did not make the rules and that he is sorry and that there is nothing to be done. That apology is offered 3 times over, as though repetition could make it feel like something more than dismissal. Alone at a bar with a drink in his hand, Joe watches a television news report announce that an accused murderer has just been given 3 weeks out of his murder trial. The time away was fully funded so that the man's dental problems could be treated. The weight of that comparison settles on Joe in silence. At a diner counter, a stranger pays for Joe's lunch after noticing his combat pin. What the stranger intended as kindness lands on Joe as pity, and he does not accept it quietly. He tells the man plainly that he does not need a free lunch, does not need a medal, and does not need to be treated as an object of charity. He needs to be treated as well as the country treats its murderers and its thieves. Later that same evening, Joe sits alone at a bar table, the friends who brought him there now gone, drinking without pleasure or company. Then he stumbles through a dark parking lot on his crutch, and 3 men step out of the shadows, asking first for a cigarette and then for money. When the lead thug threatens him, Joe swings his broken cane and dares all 3 of them to come for what they want, because the rage the VA could not hear has found somewhere to go. Jonathan Smith, a man who works alongside Joe at the bank, stayed when the others left, and now he stands in the parking lot telling Joe plainly that he is drunk and that a man who knew what he was doing would have handed over the money and walked away. Back at Joe's home, with Joe unconscious in the bedroom, Jonathan tells Kathy Mason that her husband was turned down by the VA and lied to her about it. Kathy defends Joe with everything she has, naming his courage and his silence, and Jonathan says the one thing she is not prepared for, that Joe lied because he was afraid of not being the hero she fell in love with. The next morning, Patrick Daly, the soldier whose life Joe saved in Vietnam, appears at Joe's desk with his young son, Matthew, and introduces Joe as the man who saved his father's life, telling the boy that without Joe, neither of them would be standing there. In the bathroom afterward, Jonathan confronts Joe directly, telling him that he already knows about the cash Joe slipped from the bank drawer into his jacket, and Joe's answer is 3 words: they owe it. Joe tells Jonathan that when he first met Kathy, he was strong, that she could lean on him and count on him, and he cannot let her see him as anything less than that. Jonathan tells him that Kathy does not love him because she needs him. She needs him because she loves him, and that Joe does not have to keep performing strength he no longer has room to carry. Joe sits back down at his desk and returns the cash to the drawer.